Moving right along, though, we are going to hear next from Kollektiv Raumstation. Kollektiv Raumstation is a catalyst to rethink and revive the urban space. So from Vienna, we have Paul Atchis with us, and we are very excited to hear how they are thinking about how to rethink the city in the winter.
Yes, also a very warm welcome from my side. Also indicating my background, and thank you for the invitation to the Place City community and also Vienna. And today I'm myself, Paul Achatz, as a member of Kollektiv Raumstation Wien. I'm going to present you, let's say, 3+ projects, and let's start with a small introduction. So we were founded in 2013 in Weimar, Germany, and we have emerged as an interdisciplinary platform for motivated city makers, as to say, and we see ourselves like more motivated city makers than placemakers for this reason. And nowadays we are also active in Berlin and Vienna, and also for some projects already in Zürich in Switzerland. So we are quite a lot already, as you can see on these pictures, and we're coming from different backgrounds and disciplines, such as spatial planning, architecture, acting, film, anthropology, and we do explorations of space, of public space mostly, in an artistic and activistic way, with different interventions and activating processes. And within our work, the role of the inhabitants is really crucial. So we see them as the real makers and those who finally count in the end. And the first project I'd like to present to you is one from Weimar, from the earlier days of our collective, already from 2014, when I wasn't even a member of it. And it was a advent calendar. I don't know if it's common also in Norway, but like 24 days till Christmas, and we did it in a reflection in a humoristic way. And fitted it on the surroundings of a brownfield area. So we wanted to like revive this open space, and it was a very spontaneous intervention back then to do that. But it derived from a longer examination of this site. And it continued with our fascination for fallow lands, as you will see in a later project. And the displaced images were aimed to stimulate the thoughts and reflect on these spaces and this leftover space for the neighborhood and the city itself. As you can see on the images, we aimed to unsettle, to amuse, and to also inspire the people to rethink their surroundings more often. And it led to additional pictures because we didn't do the 24. So some neighbors also added a few images how they see this urban wasteland themselves. And my colleagues back then thought to revive and expand this discussion within a small exhibition of these calendar sheets. And yeah, there was another calendar done there at this site, but not about Christmas, just to show other images to rethink this leftover space. This in German, it's called Brachen. Yeah, and this intervention was really one of the first ones, and it was really straightforward guerrilla participation. We would nowadays do a little bit different, I would say, with a longer information period beforehand, probably. Yeah, and nowadays it has been like not in our intention overbuilt by an apartment space. Yeah, the next project is the Traffic Island Resort. We called this project in Vienna. It was the first one we did in this city, and it was also the starting point for me as a member of Kollektiv Raumstation. So we situated this island resort on a leftover traffic space within the inner city of Vienna. If you're familiar with it, it is close to Karlsplatz. And we reflected on this very absurd leftover space between the traffic flows there. And we were inspired by the load of coaching buses with travel advertisements back then. Nowadays, they are not that much. Yeah, this project was tackled or was aiming at the issue of mobility and the distribution of public space. And we called it out an island resort, and did the whole project once in during winter time 2017 and also in the spring 2018. But the winter version was more fun because like bathing in winter and stuff like that was really absurd for the passing by people, which was also an intention of ours. Yeah, throughout the whole weekend you could experience guided walks, which are still available to hear online, and you could do winter yoga, and also you could experience the island inhabitants there, like me as a fisherman, doing the daily routines, fishing in the traffic streams. Yeah, so the highlight of this was in this full program was a cooperation already with a collective called Grüner Lee, where we managed to really dive into this narrative of a resort life by installing a temporary sauna really in the middle of Vienna. And it was really the highlight for most visitors and also for us to warm up after these long, cold winter days. What we learned from this first action in Vienna was that there's already was a big city network, city maker network there, and there was a lot about collaboration and cooperation. Yeah, and we also cooperated with Kretzlase, which would be presented afterwards. And the last bigger project I'm going to present to you was the Institute for Valuation. We did this year. It's quite new, or quite like actual, in September, end of September till beginning of October. It was not that cold, but still, I thought it would be like really suitable for today because we picked up the theme again of wastelands or brownfield sites within an existing neighborhood. That is quite an issue in Vienna. Nowadays, that a lot of buildings, older ones, also getting destroyed to rebuild them there, and for investment reasons, most of it. And and it was done during the Vienna Design Week 2020 in the so-called Stadtarbeit line. And the project also followed a narrative. This time, the question: what value really lies in the soil of the land? So not only with value, we only think of monetary value most of the time, but we wanted to really assess what not and non-monetary value is there in this soil. Yeah, so you could on one side you could really dive into assessing this non-monetary value by using our highly sophisticated research objects like this directional microphone. And the results are now available on the website of the Institute for Valuation if you want to take a look. So really dived into this institute narrative there also. And besides of that, it was a second line with a long 10 days program with a lot of inputs from the neighbors. We asked them what they want to do there on this fallow land. And then we co-hosted a really broad variety of events like small library, outdoor jazz, streaming a concert, a poet reading, yeah. And really the highlight of it and the ending was also the Asylum and Wasteland disco we did with local DJs and DJs, with physical distance, of course. Everybody had its own, or his or her own headphone. And it was also another way to experience this wasteland in a different way and in a more sensual. Yeah. To come to an end, I also want to lay a spotlight on our really, I would say, like really intense media approach to do different auditive formats. We've done audio walks, podcasts, some audio guides, and also an installation, and they are quite suitable, I would say. Unfortunately, most of them are German, but they're quite suitable for long winter walks outside, and they're still available on SoundCloud. And yeah, you can see 4 of our different audio experiments, sorry. And the one on the right upper corner was made during the COVID lockdown, the first in Austria. So we did like it says a podcast for a long distance walk. So it's like 3.5 hours with interviews from different experts about dating in COVID times or social impacts of the pandemic, and also about the distribution or unfair distribution of public space in Vienna, together with an initiative called Platz für Wien, which is still active. Yeah. So I hope you liked our presentation, and I could a little bit change your perspective on and transforming narrative of public spaces. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks so much, Paul. It was really inspiring, I think, to hear how you guys are working to encourage people to use their imagination a little more in the city, especially in the winter. I think that's a really important part of encouraging others to be placemakers as well.